Dr. Shahira Abdullah.
Mr. Speaker, sir, the Foreign Interference Countermeasures Act recognizes that Singapore remains vulnerable to foreign interference. In cyberspace, the cyber attacks and hostile information campaigns have increased in complexity and have become more illicit, masking themselves in seemingly innocuous ways. Therefore, this risk should be actively preempted and addressed for the national security of Singapore. Therefore, I believe in the legislative intent of the bill. However, I have concerns about certain aspects, namely transparency and the need for more checks and balances. Is there a way we can realize and uphold the good intentions of the bill, while at the same time provide some amendments which can address the concerns? I'll speak on 3 points. First, on the possible avenues of checks and balances that can be incorporated into the bill. Second, on how we can increase the transparency of this bill. Thirdly, I will speak on how the definition of foreign principle may bring about potential discrimination which may affect Singapore's reputation as a global hub. First, the bill grants considerable powers to the government. For example, Section 21 allows the minister to give anticipatory directions even when the minister only suspects or has reason to believe that a person is preparing for or planning to undertake online communications activity by or on behalf of a foreign principal. The substance of these decisions under the bill are not subject to judicial review. I understand that in cases of foreign interference, speed may be of the essence, and information received must be acted upon quickly. Moreover, this information may be sensitive and require confidentiality to be preserved. However, provisions can be enacted in the bill to require that sensitive information be sealed or otherwise not disclosed in a court hearing, such as to allow a judicial review to still be carried out. We have seen some precedents for this in the treatment of whistleblowing information and whistleblowers' identity in court proceedings. If time is of the essence and there is need for judicial reviews under this bill to be expedited, surely this can also be provided for in the bill as well. A reviewing tribunal, even if presided by a high court judge, cannot replace the role of judicial oversight. We must strive to maintain Singapore's reputation of holding and protecting the rule of law while recognizing the ills of foreign interference. Second, there have also been concerns about the transparency of the bill. One example is the criteria on who can be designated a Part 4 PSP. In the bill, a Part 4 PSP is a person or organization whose activities are directed in part towards a political end in Singapore, and the competent authority opines that it would be in the public interest to impose countermeasures on the entity. This is further elaborated on in Section 7 and 8 of the bill. These definitions, though, are still broad and not easily understood by the community. Section 20 will also grant the Minister of Home Affairs powers to issue directions to various entities such as social media services, relevant electronic services, internet access services, as well as persons who own or run websites, blogs, or social media pages to help the authorities investigate and counter hostile communications activity that is of foreign origin. Although it does not apply to Singaporeans expressing their own views on political matters, unless they are agents of a foreign principal, and it may not be the intent of the bill to stifle political speech, there are some members of the community, for example, members of academia or humanitarian and advocacy groups, who have genuine concerns about this. These groups have many foreign connections due to their nature that encourages cross-border collaboration. The fear is that their work, which may touch on complex local political issues, and their ties with foreign entities, foundations, and states, as well as associated funding, may mean that they are at risk of running afoul of the law. It may be argued that this does not cross the threshold of public interest. However, there is a sense of unease on the ground and reasonable concern that the current non-exhaustive way that public interest is defined in Section 8 will still mean that the activities fall under it. Could more be done in the wording of the bill to provide greater certainty to organizations on the types of entities that will be designated a Part 4 PSP and subject to directives, such that it avoids casting a shadow on their activities? After all, unless winter is coming in Singapore, surely it would be in the country's best interest to avoid casting a chilling effect on such complex cross-border research activities. I am also concerned about how our youths have perceived this. Youths include Singaporeans, foreigners, and PRs among them, interacting together. and our youth value the ability to talk about potentially politically sensitive and difficult topics, and is increasingly comfortable doing so on an online platform. Would these regulations give the impression that the government is discouraging this? If it does, it will cast a shadow on the trust the youth have for the government, which is something we should guard against. Youths are our future, and trust is essential for governments to effectively lead. Third, Section 4 has defined the meaning of foreign principle very broadly to capture any and everything that is remotely foreign in nature, regardless of whether such foreign nature is political or government-related or has a public interest. A foreign principle includes a foreigner, even if he or she is a permanent resident of this country. This is understandable, as foreign interferences may masquerade as normal foreign entities when in essence they are not. However, I would like to caution and remind in the wake of these broad definitions and this House's very recent extensive debates on foreign manpower and SICA to guard against inadvertently enacting legislation that is potentially discriminatory in nature. These may have unintended effects on Singapore's reputation as a hub for global trade and investments that upholds its constitutional values of equality and fairness. This is something we should always be vigilant about. Mr. Speaker, sir, at the end of it all, the fundamental question that needs to be asked is if the needs of the national security outweigh the needs of checks and balances and transparency. A balance must be struck and its consequences understood, as it also has a bearing on the trust Singaporeans may have in the government and its systems. I fully agree that Singapore must always be prepared against the threat of foreign interference. This is something I recognize and that no one can deny. However, I do hope that in the implementation of this Act, we do not inadvertently lose public trust, discourage local political discourse or advocacy, or affect Singapore's reputation as an open trading hub. Thank you.